You may have noticed that each auto enter feature has subtle differences. For instance, our creation timestamp and account automatically create those values, the account name and the date and time, inside the field as soon as that record is created. And it's never updated after that. The modification timestamp and account are updated each time you change a field, but only updated when you commit that record, not each time you modify a field on that record. It does it at once when you commit that record. Now, the auto enter calcs are even a little bit different than that. They all have similarities, right? They're all based on auto generating data, but they all work slightly differently. So here's how the auto enter calc works in general, or at least how it works in this case. If you look at our existing record, nothing's been auto entered, and that's not a surprise because that usually doesn't happen with auto enters. We saw that with the serial number. But in this case, we don't have to generate a new record. We can just type into one of the fields, and we'll let our autocomplete finish this. As soon as we do that, that tells this to auto enter because we touched. This is the field we have the calculation on. This is the field that we're referring to in the calculation. As soon as we touch this, it triggers the calculation on this field to go. There's all these connections inside FileMaker that you don't see. As soon as you add that calculation here and reference that field, it knows to update it. But if we come back here and change this to, let's say, Apple Computer, and look over here, it has not updated it. That's because it only happens once in the way we've designed it right now. And that's the way we really want it to work here. We wanted to put that data in when we initially enter that customer's billing information, but then we want to be able to override it to, let's say, FileMaker Incorporated. And you notice when we change it here, it does not affect what's over here. And if we change this again, it will not change what's over here. If we delete this, though, and empty this, we can make the auto enter occur again. Just come over here and we'll type in Incorporated. Go over to shipping, you notice it's auto entered. So as soon as that field is empty, that's when it says, okay, I'm touching this, now go ahead and auto enter. But if there's something already in there, it will auto enter over it. So this works great, and you need to understand how each of these auto enter features work so you can choose the right one for the right job. Now let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do. Well, we're going to go ahead and do some replaces, because if you look at a previous record, again, there's no company information on there. Now, this one doesn't have any, but if we find one that has some in it, I think they're down here a little bit. Might be a little bit farther than I thought. There, we pass it right there. There's the Johnson & Phillips. You look at the shipping, it's not in there. How do we get that data in there? Well, we make sure we're showing all records, or at least the records we want to update. We click into the field. Notice we're under shipping. We go to records and choose replace field contents. We did this before, puts the same value on every record. We don't want that. We did this before, puts a serial number on there. We now want replace with calculated result. And it's exactly the same as what we did with our auto enter. Exactly the same formula. Now you're going, where's the company field? Well, that's because we're looking at current layout. You have to switch this to current table. Then we can find the company field right here. Double click on it. Click OK. Make sure you read this. Permanently replace the contents of the field company shipping. That's what we want. In the 46 records, yes. With this result, the calculation result. And you can see now on this record, and any record that had a value in there, it's updated it. So if we go and find, let's say, I know there's another one in here. There's Paulson & Phillips. That one's updated as well. And you'll also notice that this one is going to have the same values here. Replace will actually go ahead and update this field even if it has a value in it. It differs that way from auto enter. So now we've got that down. Let's go ahead and look at an option that we didn't talk about yet. Let's go to our Manage Database. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the first name field. Name first shipping. Go into Options. We're doing this kind of fast because we did this exact same thing with company. Go in here, find name first. I'll use type ahead. Double click on it. Click OK. Click OK, and then we'll do name last. I'm going to double click on it. That's the same thing as going on to Options. Click on Calculated Value. Type ahead. Go to Name Last. Double click on it. Click OK. And this time on the Name Last, that's different than the other ones. I'm going to say do not replace existing value of field, if any. The default is having it checked. We want it to actually replace here. And you'll see how this differs. So we're going to go and create a new record to see how this works. I'm going to type in Database Pros, put in John Osborne, right? We look over to shipping. Looks the same so far, right? Let's go ahead and change this value to Ida Agsalud. And it's still the same, right? Same reaction. Let's go and change this to Steve Jobs. And we go over here and we see that it's now Ida Jobs. This one updated even though there's a value in there, and this one didn't. That's how that option works. And we're definitely going to want to turn it off, because that's not how we want it to react now. We want it to be reacting so that once we type something in there, it stays in there. So we'll come down here, go into Options, and check that back on so that doesn't happen. So we'll click OK, and we'll go back here and fix this. We'll put Steve Jobs on here. Actually, we'll just delete this record. There we go, and we'll delete this record as well. And yet another one. Oops, I may have just actually deleted one of our existing records because it didn't have any shipping data. But if you want to catch up with me, my last record is now Homer Simpson. You know, you make mistakes, but good thing is this is sample data. We don't have to worry too much. So what your homework is to go through each one of these shipping fields. We've done company, first name, and last name. I want you to do address 1, address 2, city, state, postal code, phone, and email. Have it auto-enter the calculation with these fields, and then for the existing records go through and do a replace on each one of these. When we come back from the next section, I'm not going to talk about this, it'll just have been done. So you want to make sure you do this before you watch the next section.